Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video. And yes, continuing on, reviewing more Christmassy materials on the weekends. And that's right, you read the title. And yep, as was teased in the last review video, something else, A Christmas Carol related. And the best way I described it, by teasing it, Dr. Frasier Crane playing Ebenezer Scrooge. And I'm sure you guys probably, knew, and, well, thus now you're watching my review of it? Yes. Kelsey Grammer playing Ebenezer Scrooge from 2004, A Christmas Carol, the musical. Yes, not to mention that, A Christmas Carol, the musical, is celebrating its anniversary. Yes. So, 2004's A Christmas Carol, the musical, again, starring Dr. Frasier Crane himself, Kelsey Grammer, playing, who else? Ebenezer Scrooge. Yeah. I gotta say, A Christmas Carol, the musical, was pretty interesting. I'm glad to have finally gotten around to watching this. And, well, the songs that are a part of A Christmas Carol, the musical. And keep in mind that this isn't the first time that we've seen Charles Dickens' story/novel be turned into a musical. In fact, there's been plenty of other film adaptations, like rather if they be, theatrical or TV or streaming, whichever which, still. There have been a handful of Christmas Carol adaptations that have been turned into musicals. Like, the ones I can think of the most are the ones, say, with Albert Finney as Ebenezer Scrooge, or, say, the one that's technically a remake, but it's animated and on Netflix with Luke Evans voicing Ebenezer Scrooge, or A Muppet Christmas Carol. That too, yeah, definitely that as well. And a bunch of others that I'm sure you guys know of too, but yeah, anyways. Even like, say, Springtime with Rue, well, there's some songs to it, but, technically Springtime with Rue is, is an Easter version of A Christmas Carol, because Rabbit acting like a Scrooge and such. And speaking of Easter, well, there's an Easter Carol from VeggieTales, that having songs to it, so there you go, that's another example. But anyways, yeah, but 2004's A Christmas Carol, the musical, is interesting, and, man, even because it's got a 61% score on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't know, that looks kind of okay, but I don't know. But for me and how I feel towards A Christmas Carol, the musical, it's not that bad. I didn't think it was that bad at all. Not once while watching A Christmas Carol, the musical, was I like, oh, jeez, like, no, that's not how I was feeling from beginning to end while watching this. I thought that this was pretty interesting with what this, adaptation of A Christmas Carol being turned into a musical had to offer, and with its cast of characters, whom is playing which character from A Christmas Carol, the songs that, are a part of this, and some slight tweaks and changes here and there. And well, most notably, some stuff that we normally wouldn't see, definitely, in any Christmas Carol adaptation, But as long as, they're done in a right way, and in a good way altogether, and it's gotta make sense, right? So, yeah. But just overall, 2004's A Christmas Carol, the musical, starring the one and only Kelsey Grammer as Ebenezer Scrooge, is pretty good. Not bad. I mean, it may not be like, say, one of the top best Christmas Carol adaptations, let alone this being a musical, but still, it's not that bad at all, okay? So, yeah. And those are the first things I have to say about it. Okay, so, as always, for me, read the description / the story. Ever since that Christmas Eve 7 years ago, when Ebenezer Scrooge buried his longtime friend and business partner, Jacob Marley, Scrooge has developed a deep dislike of mankind. This Christmas Eve, however, Scrooge is visited by the ghost of his old partner, who warns him of the consequences of the suffering he has caused. Yeah, so that's the description / the story for this, yeah. Okay, so, getting into A Christmas Carol, the musical itself, yeah. And, yeah, this being a TV movie, yeah. And not to mention, this, I didn't quite realize that, yeah, this comes, straight from Hallmark. Well, Hallmark, obviously being no stranger to doing something A Christmas Carol, like, well, most notably, they did one of my top favorite adaptations of A Christmas Carol, the one with Sir Patrick Stewart, also my dad's favorite, so, yeah. The style and look to, first off, I should say, the style and look to the 2004 Christmas Carol the Musical, very interesting. And if I also like to point out, well, yeah, obviously, this coming out after, especially, when Kelsey Grammer had finished the original Frasier series. Yeah, and, you know, it's been funny, because, like... I was thinking of this when watching this, at one point, when watching this, I should say. Wouldn't it have been funny if you had David I. Pierce as Marley's ghost? Obviously just for a joke, but yeah. But imagine that. I mean, you know, David I. Pierce, he's got a good singing voice too, and that's another thing, because very fitting for Kelsey Grammer being a part of this, because, well, he does, without a doubt, have a fantastic singing voice, so, yeah. And yeah, the songs that are in this, yeah, because, yeah, they're pretty good. But, yeah, to talk about the characters and with this, but yeah, because, well, yeah, Christmas Eve, that's when it takes place. And we know this by now with A Christmas Carol. Scrooge, pardon my French, being an asshole, it's true. You know, and hating mankind and how he treats the people on the streets, and even when the first time we see Scrooge is at the Royal Exchange, yeah. And, you know, this one guy with his daughter, you know, trying to get some money and such for, you know, a coffin and so on for his late wife / mother to their daughter. And also, we see Bob Cratchit, who is a bit sick. He's coming down with a little cold. And Bob Cratchit being played by Edward Gower, if I'm saying that right. Again, you know me sometimes, but I'm pretty sure that might be how his last name is pronounced. I guess, but I don't know. Anyways, yeah, so again, he plays Bob Cratchit in this, and yeah, and again, Kelsey Grammer as the man himself, Ebenezer Scrooge. And I gotta say, Kelsey Grammer's appearance and look as Ebenezer Scrooge in this, very interesting. Even, like, say, at the start of this film, and, well, when he starts off being a mean old guy, just, like, he's kind of, like, crotched and such, but towards the end, you know, he's no longer kind of crotched or something, you know. Why was he in the first place? I don't know. But, yeah, and, yeah, then to get into the songs already, because, yeah, Jolly Good Time and Nothing to Do with Me, yeah. Let me just say, because, you know, all the songs in A Christmas Carol the Musical are all pretty good, yeah. And, yeah, Scrooge, you know, his interactions with the other people, even, like, say, when at one point, there are 3 specific people that he stumbles upon, one being a street lamp lighter, being played by Jane Krogowski, I'm having trouble pronouncing her last name, but I think you know who I'm talking about. Yeah, her. And, you know, stumbling upon her, and there's also Ticket Seller, being played by Jess L. Martin, and he would definitely be best known for, well, being in, say, the CW Flash series. Yeah, that's him. And also, Blind Beggar Woman, being played by Geraldine Chaplin. Yeah. So again, she plays the Blind Beggar Woman, and, yeah. And those three that I just mentioned, Street Lamplighter, Ticket Seller, and the Blind Beggar Woman, yeah, because something about them, and we would see them a little later on, and if you would notice immediately, even if you had already seen this, you know. So, yeah. And even when Bob Cratchit a little earlier, and when, you know, just like in A Christmas Carol, Bob Cratchit asked us, you know, Scrooge if, you know, he can have a day off because, well, tomorrow's Christmas, and he manages to, you know, be there for his, you know, wife and children, and especially one son of his that is ill, but little does Ebenezer Scrooge know, or, you know, doesn't even pay attention, doesn't listen, you know. But also, Scrooge's nephew, which being Fred, popping in, and asking his uncle to come for Christmas dinner. And possibly for the first time, he'll finally get the chance to meet his nephew's wife, which, of course, being Sally. And of course, as we all know, Cratchit and how he acts towards his nephew, yeah. And to speed things up because, well, yeah, with the rest of the songs that play, and, yeah. And, well, then, yeah, Scrooge returning home, and at one point, well, because the door knocker, well, because, you know, at one point, you know, he believes that, he had just seen, like, he at first thought that, yeah, he saw the face of his old partner, business partner, I should say, Jacob Marley. And also, Mrs. Mops, who, is kind of like a maid or something for Scrooge, being played by Shelia Raid. Yeah, there's her, and yeah, because when Scrooge comes back in for the day, you know, on Christmas Eve, and a bowl of gruel is there for him, and so on, and when, sure enough, he is visited by his old dead business partner, Jacob Marley, and Jacob Marley / Marley's ghost being played by good old Jason Alexander. Yeah, I had actually almost forgotten that Jason Alexander was in this. Yeah, and the fact that he plays Marley's ghost. So, yeah. And the song number that Marley's ghost has, and when other, you know, ghosts of whom used to be just like, say, Marley and Scrooge, you know, business people, yeah. And the suffering that they go through, and with chains around them, yeah. And, of course, Marley warning Scrooge that, you know, he will be visited by 3 spirits, first at the stroke of 1, and from there on. And yeah, then, when we see the Ghost of Christmas Past being played by Jane Krakowski, you know, who, you know, Scrooge, you know, was like, haven't I seen you before? And yeah, the street lamp lighter, yeah. And by the way, like, just bear with me when I say this. I think I make a good point when I say this. Who'd have thought that for this specifically, this specific adaptation of A Christmas Carol, and this being a musical, that they made the Ghost of Christmas Past almost pretty much sexy. Right? I mean, I'm just saying. I'm simply saying because I think it's clearly obvious. Don't you think? Just, yeah. Well, besides, Jane, you know, her last name, because she's a very lovely, beautiful woman and, you know, good actress. So, I'm just saying. I'm only saying, okay? But yeah, the song that she has, and, well, showing, well, Scrooge, his Christmas past, from when he was a young boy. And apparently, because we see that Scrooge at a young age, his father, which he's uncredited, I should say, Scrooge's father, being played by Mike Kelly, being sent to jail, and the judge being played by John Rado. Yeah, because for a crime that Scrooge's father commit, and being taken to jail, and even Scrooge's father telling, you know, Scrooge, I believe, yeah, 10 years old, Scrooge at 10 years old being played by young Joshua Wilmot. Yeah, I think I said that right. Telling him to chin up and so on. Yeah, that kind of talk. And also, Scrooge's other, relatives, siblings, and his mother. Scrooge's mother being played by Ruthie Henshaw. And, well, yeah, another young Scrooge being played by Stephen Miller. Yeah, it's that Scrooge we first see. And, well, of course, Scrooge's sister, Fan, being played by young Lee Verity White. And we see, just right after that Scrooge, being sent to work and such. And even when, a little later on, working, specifically, for, Fezziwig. Yep, of course. Gotta have Fezziwig, and Mr. Fezziwig being played by the late Brian Bedford. For us Disney fans, we would know him best as the voice of the titled character, Robin Hood. Yep, that's him. I actually almost didn't recognize that it was him, and let alone identifying his voice, because, yeah, how can you not? Especially since, again, him being the voice of the titled character, Robin Hood. Yeah, nice. And, Mrs. Fezziwig being played by Clara Moore. Yeah. And yeah, when we see Scrooge, a little, older, and yeah, because still, Stephen Miller and such, just kind of getting my Scrooges mixed up, but, yeah. Well, when coming to seeing young Scrooge working, with Fezziwig, also, alongside with young Scrooge, young Jacob Marley, and, young Jacob Marley, who, he's uncredited as well. Why? Because, I don't know, it's just one of those things. Young Jacob Marley being played by Christopher Stewart. Yeah. The annual Fezziwig Christmas party begins, and, man, the song that plays, and to name some of the other songs, there's, You Mean More to Me, Marley's Visitation, and, Link by Link. I thought that one was catchy, and, one of Marley's songs. Lights of a Long Ago, God Bless Us Everyone, Place Called Home, that Scrooge at 10 years old sings, A Place Called Home, once again, Money Montage, Ambulance, and Charity, Christmas Together, but my point being is that, the song that plays during the annual Fezziwig Christmas party, and, them doing that, even when, even like Scrooge, Kelsey Grammer joining in a couple of times, and, well, at one point, we of course see, at that time, Scrooge's love interest, which being Emily, and Emily being played by Jennifer Love Hewitt. Yeah, I would remember her best, and I'm sure you would too. I mean, she's done a lot of other great films and such, but I'm just saying, because I would know her best for being in the 2 live-action Garfield films as Liz. Yeah, so, and probably, because the same goes for you guys, obviously. I mean, how can you not enjoy someone like Jennifer Love Hewitt? Because, her as Emily in the Christmas Carol musical was really good, instead of Belle, it's Emily, but the love that Emily and young Scrooge had, amazing, and a song that they have, and when Scrooge asked her to marry him, and because they, well, as we all know, sadly, when it seemed like they could have lived happily ever after and be happily married, and who knows what would have come next for them, well, sadly, that did not happen for both of them, because, well, a little later on, for Scrooge and Marley, of course, the business they got themselves into, their very own business, the two of them, they became horrible, just greedy, just assholes, but pretty much. Especially how they treat Mr. Fezziwig. And Fezziwig, whom took Scrooge and Marley under his wing, and this is how they repay him. Even Mrs. Fezziwig set them straight on that. And not long after, because, well, after how they've treated the Fezziwigs, well, Emily steps in, and she calls it off, being in a relationship with Scrooge, giving back, what he gave her, the engagement ring and such, and she sees that in Scrooge, he only loves and cares about money and so on, and all that Emily wanted from Scrooge was just love, nothing else. And you know what? That's technically how it should be. Who cares about, say, the money and everything like that? Love is what truly matters. And I'm sure you guys would think so too. Yeah. So yeah, it's really sad, and even for older Scrooge, Kelsey, and as we all know, in a handful of Christmas Carol adaptations, Scrooge, coaching his younger self to not let his love go and all that. And by that point, Scrooge was starting to regret what has happened, in his past, and even at a certain point when he was a little older. And also, the Christmas past is not over quite yet, because a little later, we do see Scrooge and Marley a little bit older, and it's this time Grammer and Jason Alexander. Jason Alexander as Jacob Marley, seeing him alive, well, he apparently tells Scrooge that he's calling it a day, and, well, it's Christmas Eve, and he just feels tired and wants to, go home. And when he was going to leave, well, sadly and out of nowhere, he collapsed. Yeah. And that's kind of rare, don't you think? Because I don't recall, and I'm sure you guys don't either, where we would see a Christmas Carol adaptation where we would see, in Christmas Past, actually physically see where Marley dies on the spot. I don't recall, seeing something like that before, but that's pretty interesting. And like I said, some changes and tweaks and stuff, that we really wouldn't see in any other Christmas Carol adaptation. But, for something like that being in this, it's gotta be done right. It's gotta make sense. All that I said early on. So, yeah. But overall, yeah, again, that was pretty interesting that, that was incorporated in this. And I think that turned out pretty good. And yeah, right after that's over, with seeing Jacob Marley die and in Scrooge's hands, well, the Christmas Past is done, and even the last things that the Ghost of Christmas Past says to Scrooge is, these were the shadows that, happened, and, do not blame me and such, and, well, Scrooge putting out the candlelight. Yeah, so that's it for the Ghost of Christmas Past and her part, and thus, well, sure enough, and when the clock strikes again, enter the Ghost of Christmas Present. Yeah, and the Ghost of Christmas Present being played by Jess L. Martin. Yep, also the ticket seller, sorry. And the song numbers that the Ghost of Christmas Present has in this, pretty interesting. Yeah, and because, looking at the rest of the song numbers, this one, yeah, Abundance and Charity. This one where the Ghost of Christmas Present and Scrooge, they are on a stage, and all these, female dancers wearing soldier costumes, and the audience is a group of children watching, and even when, the Ghost of Christmas Present is trying to get Scrooge into dancing and all that, but he can't really see himself doing that kind of thing. But sure enough, he, starts to really lighten up and such. Even, yeah, because some of the other characters, Mr. Smith, whom I mentioned, his wife died, and the mother to their daughter, Grace Smith, yeah. Mr. Smith being played by Ian McLarnon, if I'm saying that right, and Grace being played by young Emily Deemer, yeah, because apparently, yeah, Grace is in the audience, and, well, Scrooge, actually, having a little present or something, and, well, right as the song finished, he tossed it to Grace, and that was right there. That was the start of when Scrooge was starting to light up, yeah. And, after that, well, because, then they are back in the streets, and it's Christmas morning, and what goes on with everybody in town, from, you know, some of the drunks, or even, say, the Cratchit family, Scrooge's nephew, and, of course, the whole thing of the charade game and referring to Ebenezer Scrooge, but still, Scrooge's nephew having no, bone in his body, you know, hating or despising his uncle, and giving him a toast and praising his uncle. Yeah. And when it comes to the Cratchit family, well, still, Bob Cratchit, still feeling a little bit sick, just with a little cold. But of course, we all know with Tiny Tim, and, well, this is where Scrooge, as we all know, starting to grow very fondly and attached to Cratchit's ill child, Tiny Tim. Yeah. And Scrooge, you know, him stating to the Ghost of Christmas Present that he didn't know that Cratchit had a sick son, but the Ghost of Christmas Present tells him that, you know, you just didn't listen. And yeah, of course he didn't at first, but now he is. And now that he's starting to just about lighten up, you know, starting to become a better man, especially up to, you know, with the whole Ghost of Christmas Present thing, as we all know. And yeah, the feast that, you know, the Cratchit family have, and also, yeah, the other, family members of the Cratchits, like, yeah, Mrs. Cratchit being played by Lindsay, Haiteley, if I'm even saying the last name right. Again, you know me sometimes. And the other, Cratchit family members, and of course, one of them being Tiny Tim, of course, and, the feast that they have, and even when, you know, a toast to Scrooge, the founder of the feast, and so on. And, of course, at times with these, Christmas Carol adaptations, how Mrs. Cratchit feels towards Ebenezer, so, yeah. And, yeah, because, and the song number that, like, you know, from the Cratchit family to Scrooge's nephew and everybody else, you know, singing, yeah, because Christmas Together, it's a very nice song, yeah. And after that, because, well, Christmas presents time is almost at an end, and even when, you know, and in some Christmas Carol adaptations, the Ghost of Christmas Present, you know, looking old and such, and, well, revealing under his trench coat, you know, because these two, like, scary-looking kids, and just, yeah. And by that point, Scrooge feeling such an awful man, and yeah. And, of course, when, Christmas Present is finished, well, sure enough, enter the Ghost of Christmas Future / Yet to Come. And, yep, because, once the Ghost of Christmas, Future / Yet to Come shows up, well, it's, the Blind Beggar Woman. Well, yeah, the Ghost of Christmas Future looking like the Blind Beggar Woman. And yeah, Geraldine Chaplin playing the Ghost of Christmas Future, whom doesn't speak and is in this, like, very nice, like, costume, like, you know, white and so on, you know. Well, always pointing and such, as we all know, when it comes to the Ghost of Christmas Future / Yet to Come. And yeah, because, well, we come to the cemetery, and, well, because, you know, the next song number, you know, being, Dancing on Your Grave, and, you know, these grave diggers dancing and such, and even when we see that, you know, those that don't care on whom has died, and collecting some things from his home, you know, from bed curtains and sheets and all that, and, well, even when we see that the Cratchit family are, you know, all standing around, you know, around the grave of Tiny Tim, because, yeah, as we all know, presumably, and if, you know, nothing changes and Scrooge stays the way he is, Tiny Tim will sadly die. Yeah, so by seeing the sight of, you know, Tiny Tim's grave, Scrooge horrified by the sight, and even when he sees his own grave with his name. And yeah, and by that point, Scrooge promises that he will honor Christmas in his heart, and with the three ghosts of Christmas, you know, past, present, and future, and so on, yeah. And when he starts to sing too, and, yesterday, tomorrow, and today, yeah, this being one of the last songs, and, God bless us, everyone. Yeah, but just, even when, like, everybody, even Grace, they come together, they start to sing coming into the cemetery, and even when Scrooge, being awakened, when the ghost of Christmas future / yet to come, like, puts, like, a sheet, on top of him, and, well, then he wakes up, and, he's now become a much better changed man, for the best, and even when one of the boys that Scrooge encountered and they were singing Christmas carols, Jonathan, being played by Joe Tremaine, pulling Jonathan in and even like asking him, "What's today?" and telling him to go buy the prized turkey and for it to be delivered and taken straight to Bob Cratchit's house, and thus, him getting dressed and looking, very proper, and even shaved a little, like trimmed and such around his face, with the sideburns, because he had some sideburns, and he did shave that off, but because what was on his face. But anyway, so looking much better and proper, and even when he's standing up and walking straight, unlike at the beginning of the film, just kind of crotching and such, and the people he stumbles upon once again from yesterday, like the three gentlemen because of the charity, the three gentlemen of the charity thing, and giving them a lot of money, and even when crossing paths with Mr. Smith and the daughter Grace Smith, giving them some money and, get her doll and just so on, and everybody's seeing that, Scrooge has become a much better person, and even when Scrooge once again stumbles upon the ticket seller giving him some money and such for, tickets for any of the kids and anybody coming to a show, and when, Scrooge turned him down at first, and the street lamp lighter, stumbling upon her, and even, of course, the blind beggar woman, giving her some cash too, and apparently, because she no longer has one blind eye, both of her eyes are okay, and all three of them, the ticket seller, the street lamp lighter female, and the blind beggar woman, them all coming together and singing, and all three of them just merrily walk off, and I think it's obvious that they really were the ghost of Christmas's past, present, and future. It's obvious, but, well, the movie doesn't answer it. A Christmas Carol the Musical, it doesn't answer it for us. We are just left to presumably think that it really was them. So, and being magical and so on. But, because, Scrooge, having deliver the prize turkey, even when at first he tricks Cratchit, you didn't show up on time, and just, and then telling him that he will raise his salary and pay the mortgage and such and help out the sick child, Tiny Tim, and becoming fast friends, and when, picking Tiny Tim up and on his shoulder, as we've seen, and also when coming to his nephew's house for Christmas dinner, and everything, turns out great, and it's all patched up and such, and, well, Scrooge's nephew, along with his nephew's wife, accepting him, and because, well, he is family, and everybody coming together and, singing one of the last songs, as I just mentioned, which, of course, being Yesterday, Tomorrow, and Today, and God bless us all, everyone, just fantastic, and, of course, we, of course, have to have Tiny Tim, of course, finishing off saying, God bless us all, everyone, And, just what a great way to end off A Christmas Carol the Musical, A Christmas Carol the Musical from 2004, everything about it really good. I quite enjoyed it. what goes down in A Christmas Story, the musical, from beginning to end, with the cast and, whom is playing which character, from, say, Kelsey Grammer playing Scrooge, the Ghost of Christmas Past, Present, and Future. They were good. And from Bob Cratchit, Mr. Fezziwig, Marley's Ghost, Jason Alexander, everybody who, played the characters in this adaptation of A Christmas Carol, which being a musical, the songs from A Christmas Story, the musical, really good. And how the look to A Christmas Carol, the musical, looked and such, with its style, and, just what more do I have to say? A Christmas Story, the musical, is really good, I think, and I'm sure you guys would think so too. Again, it may not be really one of the top best Christmas Carol adaptations, and, for it being a musical, but it's not really that bad, okay? So, yeah. And any of you who are into any Christmas Carol adaptations that are musicals, then this would be a pretty good one to watch, yeah. And any of you who are Frasier fans, and most notably Kelsey Grammer fans like me, yeah, definitely give this a watch, and especially watching Kelsey Grammer's performance as Ebenezer Scrooge himself. And to everybody else who was a part of this, again, they all did an excellent job. Yeah, I thought they did, and did not disappoint. Yeah, the entirety of A Christmas Carol, the musical, was no disappointment for me, and I'm sure the same goes for some of you. And I'm giving A Christmas Story, the musical, yeah, this sounds about right. I'm giving it 7 out of 10 stars. Yes, 7 out of 10 stars for A Christmas Carol, the musical. And what about you guys? What did you think of A Christmas Carol, the musical itself from 2004? Which were some of your favorite songs, and whom was a part of this? From Kelsey Grammer, Jason Alexander, Jane, what's her last name, and, everybody else that got to be a part of this, yeah. And, which were some of your favorite moments? And is this one of your top favorite Christmas Carol musicals? And which are some of your other favorites? But yeah, just overall, what do you think of A Christmas Carol, the musical from 2004 itself, and with what I've had to say, my review, and yeah, what did you think of my review? Leave comments and give this review video a like, as always. And so, with all that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of 2004's A Christmas Carol, the musical. More review videos are coming your way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward, and I'll see you guys in the next video / review. And, well, of course, continuing on, reviewing more Christmassy materials on the weekends. Stay tuned, because the next Christmassy material I'm going to be reviewing, alongside with one of my friends joining in, reviewing it, well, to best describe it, let's just say it has to do something with the Turtles. I'm sure you guys probably know what I'm describing. Again, stay tuned for that. Take care, happy anniversary to 2004's A Christmas Carol, the musical, and peace out. Scrambled eggs for Ebenezer Scrooge. Best thing I can come up with to end this off.